Etefano, a very warm welcome to No Boundaries, special World Cup edition for you this morning. And what a great start to the day this is. 3 from 3 now for the Black Caps at this Cricket World Cup over in India. They have won against Bangladesh by 8 wickets. I'm joined by Colin Munro, Mike Hesson with me, and Manas, welcome back. It's nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
You've had a busy year, but what did you make of the boys' performance last night? And actually so far in this tournament, because 3 from 3, you look at how Australia's going, this feels nice for the Black Caps.
It does, and the way that they're playing their cricket as well. So real professional from them today, from obviously getting a wicket first ball all the way through. We never looked like we were under pressure at any stage. Well, I say that, but probably the first 10 overs in our batting performance, they bowled really well and put us under pressure there. But once we got through that, it was home and hosed.
Home and hosed. Hess, now, look, you'll be looking forward to getting a kip at some point. I know you've got a big game of golf today, but from what you could see from the boys, are they improving game on game in this World Cup, or have they just got their skills down pat from the get-go?
Yeah, I think, Munro's talked about being professional. I just thought it was a really clinical performance. I mean, first time you would have ever turned up to Chennai and seen grass sort of in all the cracks. So, the ball slid on. It was a pretty quick assessment of conditions in terms of saying, look, we're actually going to bang it in halfway down. There's enough variation in the wicket. And the ball actually carried through really nicely. So, and there was nowhere near the amount of spin that there normally is in Chennai. So I thought they assessed conditions really well from a selection point of view. And then from a bowling point of view, it was just great to see, Lockie back in the wickets. And I think moving forward, that's probably one of the key pieces of the puzzle that I think the Black Caps will be most pleased with.
Yeah, so if we look through the bowlers there, Trent Boult getting 2, Henry 2, 3 for Lockie, 1 for Mitchell Santner and 1 for Glenn Phillips. Now, we talked last time actually a bit about Glenn Phillips at the bowling crease, something he's worked on very hard. You've worked a lot with Glenn Phillips, you played alongside him. That 1 wicket, boy, you won't meet a man that it means more to than Glenn Phillips.
Yeah, you see celebrations every time he gets a wicket because he's bowled a million balls for that 1 wicket. So, he's worked incredibly hard. I think when I look at him went through the aces setup when he said he was going to give up keeping, I said, what are you doing? Because you're a phenomenal keeper. He's like, I just want to bowl. And once he gets that bee in his bonnet, he just wants to keep doing it. So he's bowled more balls than I think any one of those guys there over the last sort of 3 or 4 years. And credits, he only gets 2 overs, but he'll take those 12 balls he bowls and take it with him.
And imagine he's chest all up, he's excited about that 1 wicket. Hess, you talk about Lockie there, but let's talk about Boult, Henry, and those who didn't get a wicket. Daryl Mitchell, we saw hit 1 over for 11 for him. Do you think we're going to see much more of Daryl at the bowling crease this tournament? He's not someone that Kane, who obviously was back today, has ever really relied on, but you did talk about him potentially getting through some of those overs in the middle. What did you think about him today?
Well, I mean, he bowled the last over when they didn't want to bowl one of the spinners to Mamadula, which made sense. And Daryl's done that a lot in T20 cricket, so it wouldn't have been particularly foreign to him. Look, I think he'll come more into his own when the wicket turns and they choose to play Ish Sodhi. I think if they do that, then they're going to need either Daryl Mitchell or James Neesham in the lineup. So therefore, they're able to at least have 2.5 to 3 seamers. So that'll probably only come into play when that's the case. Otherwise, they're pretty happy with Rutchin and Glenn Phillips and Santner being able to get through 20. Between those 3, that's pretty straightforward. Santner again was outstanding, wasn't he? 1 for 31 against a team that plays spin really well. So he's sort of shown his class, those first 3 games in 3 completely different surfaces. So from a bowling unit point of view, I thought the resources were used really nicely.
Yeah, so Santner obviously familiar with the Chennai wicket. We've got our next game there as well. I mean, he, like he's just said, 1 for 31 off 10. He's just, how has he mastered this one-day bowling? Because I remember in 2019, which you were a part of that campaign, he was a solid bowler for us in that campaign as well.
Yeah, it's his lack of change of pace, I reckon. You talk about guys that spin the ball hard and has different variations, but he just changes his pace and his length so well, and it's so subtle that it's really hard to tell. So you think especially myself, I faced him this year in the Blast, and thinking the ball turning in, I'm going to have my way, I'm going to go, it's my matchup, and I could hardly lay bat on it because of the way he just drops it on a length. It's sort of like just entices you, come down the wicket, and then he just drops it back on you, and then you're not quite there, so you've got to just knock it for 1. So yeah, he just sort of knows what the batter's going to do, and he's like sort of 1 step ahead of the batter at that time.
It didn't really look like Kane missed a beat in terms of the fielding aspect of his game here tonight.
Well, it was nice to see him dive around, and he did dive around a lot. Thankfully, he didn't have to do the figure 4 slide where the old knee gets close to in the ground, but Look, he was put himself in positions where he didn't have to have a lot of high traffic, which was smart. But when he was called into action, he looked like he wasn't troubled at all. And that doesn't surprise me. I don't think Kane would put himself in that position of playing a World Cup game unless he felt pretty close to 100. So, delighted to see him back there. And obviously, from a batting point of view, he scrapped pretty hard and did exactly what was required, which would have pleased him.
One of the interesting talking points at the top of the match was, of course, them dropping Will Young to fit Kane in, and there was some chat that maybe it should have been Chapman out. No one knew really what they were going to do. Were you surprised that after his performance in that second game, it was Young that dropped out and not Chapman?
No, I don't think so. I think Chappie's done really well. I know it's T20 format, but finishing innings as well. I think in having that depth, he bowls a little bit as well. I know we don't need him at the moment, but he can offer a couple, especially when Hesson it's going to be spinning a little bit later on. It's unfortunate for Youngie because I really enjoy watching Youngie bat. He's really nice to watch, and I think he deserves a go. But sometimes you're just unlucky at that time, and I think Ratchen's taken his chance over the last couple of innings, and I think Youngie's just going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, as a coach, it must be hard as well because Will Young has paid his dues to this team. Whether it be in the test format or this format, he has been there, he's been ready whenever they've needed him. And for this to happen at a World Cup, his first World Cup as well, don't forget. Your heart does break for him as a cricket fan.
Yeah, look, it does. It's nice to be able to leave someone out, though, after they've done well. So, he's sitting there ready to go going, look, I've just come off a good innings, I'm feeling good. I've been left out because that's what the team requires, and he's been left out for a guy who's absolutely in the form of his life in terms of Ratchen. And look, you could have gone lots of different ways. Whether I would have gone that way or not doesn't really matter, but it is least amount of disruptions by doing that. So you're only moving one player. If you move Chapman and Ratchen comes in at 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever, then Daryl moves down and Tom ends up batting at 6, and there's too many changes. So I can understand why they've done that, and also potentially down the line if Chapman's at 7, and as I said they play Ish, they probably need Nisham at 7, to provide that extra bowling. So at least it's only one change again. So look, completely understand why they did it, and I hope they stick with Ratchen now for a decent run. They don't sort of chop and change. And obviously his bowling helps that as well.
Yeah, because the chop and change is where you come into all sorts of trouble as a player as well. It can really do some damage, Colin?
Yeah, it can. It's just mentally more than anything. You second guess yourself, even if you've scored a number of runs in the tournament, but you miss out on 1 or 2 games and then you get left out. It can hit you mentally and knock your confidence. But yeah, I think one person that I won't be getting to is Youngie. Youngie will just be doing everything that the team needs, whether it's running the drinks or doing whatever he needs to do for that team. He'll be doing it at the best of his ability, knowing Youngie really well.
Today we have joining us live from Chennai, Lockie Ferguson, 3 for 49 overnight, 3 from 3 for the BLACKCAPS. Lock, you've played in India a lot. You've been part of, this isn't your first World Cup campaign. How is it? How are you? And are you having a good time so far?
Yeah, having a great time. Nice to have the full squad back together. But yeah, we've certainly been having some fun off the park and obviously playing some good cricket on as well. And today was probably one of the hotter days of cricket I've ever had. So nice to get the win.
Yeah, Lockie, from a personal point of view, obviously you got your pace up again today, which was pleasing. What were you most pleased about from a personal perspective about how you're operating, other than obviously taking the 3 wickets, which hopefully you got a bit of confidence from?
Yeah, look, today got a few treats, which was nice. Certainly, my role in the team is to bowl short, create a bit of unease, obviously, as you know, Hess. So yeah, nice to have a pitch that sort of suited that today. I don't know if it was quick, but it certainly had a bit of bounce. But then backed up with the rest of the boys throughout the day. So pretty pleasing performance.
So Lockie, Colin, yeah, mate. Good to see you again. It's been a long time. Yeah, obviously the boys have been playing some really good cricket, 3 from 3. What are you going to do in your downtime between now and the next game or after that? Because I know India you can stay in your hotel rooms, but it's also nice to get out and about and see what's there.
You got a nice white shirt on there, mate. Looking sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple of days, which is nice. We've got a bit of a social committee at each spot we go to, so trying to do something as a team together. So a few of the boys have been Dev and Satner, I think, are in charge. So it'd be nice to come together. As you know, in India, we can kind of get stuck in hotels a little bit, but it's been great this trip. The boys have been getting around each other and into the team room, so getting along real well.
Nice.
So that third game, third win, Lock, you get over there, you've got your captain, Kane Williamson, back in the mix. What was it like having him back after such a big layoff for him personally? But, you know, there's a lot of talk around the team. Will he, won't he get back out there? But what was it like having your captain back?
Yeah, obviously really excited to have him back. He's put in some serious hard yards to get back on the park, and I think he was itching to get out there, certainly on the sidelines for the first. He was, a kid at a candy store, really. So nice for him to get out there today and obviously bat really well, get some runs under the belt, and get that match fitness going. But certainly from a bowling point of view, he's great as always. You know, I come to him with some crazy ideas sometimes, but he always backs it, and today we got some treats for it.
So, Lockie, I guess when the draw came out and it said that you had Afghanistan and Bangladesh and Chennai, and then you saw the pitch that Australia faced a few days ago, how happy were you to turn up and see a little bit of grass in amongst those cracks today?
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it was back of our mind. Playing two countries who play spin really well and obviously have some pretty exceptional spinners themselves. But yeah, nice to turn up today. It did actually look like a good wicket from the start, and obviously seeing Trent and Tezza do their thing and get a bit of extra bounce, it was certainly pleasing. And yeah, hopefully we get a similar wicket against Afghanistan. That would be great. But the team's been talking a lot about just adapting each game, which has been our motive, sort of getting through this World Cup, and today was another good example of it.
We talked about that and what that potential, the threats that it offered for you. But in terms of the heat, you talked about it being one of the hotter days of cricket that you've faced over there. What do you do to combat that? Are you exhausted now? You got to go and hit a couple of Powerades and have it. Well, how does it work from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a sweater, so it's tap off, as they say. So I don't know if you can tell, I've got like a red forehead just from, I felt like every second I was rubbing my forehead trying to get rid of the sweat. But no, we had a lot of helpful hands on the boundaries, giving us plenty of dry towels. But fortunately, being here a few times, I kind of understand what needs to be done the morning of the game. We've probably heard it all before, but it becomes really important in these games when you're bowling in the heat.
So how is Chris Donaldson still that bloke that sort of stands behind you with the ice towel, or is he still floating around?
Yeah, no, he loves it. He gets amongst the crowd and gives them plenty of ways. And then Luke Ronke was on the side with me today. But it's also just nice, when you're on the boundary to see a familiar face and have a bit of a laugh with. So certainly the support staff and team are gelling really nicely. Looking forward to the rest of the trip.
Yeah, it looks like it's going very well over there, Lockie. We're loving what you guys are doing. 3 from 3. Congratulations. And personally today, your 3 wickets. Well done. We love watching you do your thing.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it. Nice to see you.
And the Black Caps have now made it 3 from 3 in this World Cup so far. Better than Australia. Hoo-wee! Let's talk about this great victory. And we've looked at the bowling already, Hess. But in terms of batting, Conway with 45. Rutchin missed out today with 9, but we'll allow that because he scored a lot of runs in the first 2 games. Then you got 78 from the captain, Kane Williamson. A lot of people will be a bit worried this morning seeing he's retired hurt. Then an 89 from Daryl Mitchell and a 16 from Glenn Phillips, both those players not out. I'll start with Devon. He just scores runs a lot. He scores a lot of runs consistently. That guy is such a good cricket player. Yeah,
and it was tough, to be fair. It was actually really tough, those first 10 overs. The ball swung. It had a bit of variation and bounce. So in the evening there, it actually did more than I think most people expected. And, both the left armers, Mustafizur and start with S, forgotten. He swung the ball beautifully and made it really challenging. So the fact that Kane and Devon were able to absorb that and then go again was exceptional. They were going about 2.5 and over, and then Devon just started walking down the wicket, picked one up over mid-wicket, and then drove one through the covers, and everybody, I imagine, in the changing room just started to relax. He's one of those guys that, he just provides that calmness, and you add him to Kane when those two are batting in the middle. The changing room must be, just going to get another cup of tea and sitting down and enjoying it. So it's just a low risk, really high quality batsmanship, and Kane's obviously and Devon are obviously a huge part of that.
Yeah, that's the partnership that you see all the bowlers have a wee kip isn't it? Like
Yeah,
that's the one
exactly.
where everyone just sort of relaxes. So we look at Kane Williamson as 78 off 107 balls. He was retired hurt, got hit on the thumb. There's going to be a scan there to double check that. That would have given, I'm sure, a few of the medical staff, as well as Coach Gary said, a bit of a fright. But in terms of his batting, his performance, he was never going to not score runs. I mean, the man, you could tell he's been dreaming about batting, obviously, in the build-up to this. What an extraordinary sort of 12 months it's been for him.
Yeah, and like you said, he's worked really hard to get back to where he is. And yeah, I think there was talks about his running between the wickets in those first couple of games in the warm-ups, that he was sort of a little bit ushering that leg a little bit because turning between the wickets, but it didn't look like he was hampered at all. And like Hess said, he's not going to play a World Cup game if he's underdone. So yeah, he's never going to not score runs. It's Kane Williamson. He's probably hit another million balls while he's been on one leg, sitting there. Even some family time, probably getting some throwdowns from the kids too. So yeah, he's obviously world class. And when you guys have said it, when those two are batting, Conway and Williamson, the bowlers are sitting down, even the all-rounders in the middle order, and having another cup of tea, watching the game fly.
Yeah, absolutely. We look at Daryl Mitchell with his 89 not out, and he'll be pleased with that. I saw a story that the ICC did on him, Hess, where they talked about how he was a little bit of a late bloomer, but he said, no, I don't see it as a late bloomer. I just see it as this is my time at international cricket, and you kind of have to agree with him because the proof is in the pudding. He does deliver a lot, does Daryl Mitchell for the Black Caps, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sure does, and he delivers when New Zealand really need it. You know, you think of all the opportunity, you know, whether it be in Test matches, even the T20 World Cup semi-final, and even now in the One Day World Cup, you know, he fronts up when New Zealand are under pressure. And that's what you want from an experienced player, and he loves to be in the fight. You know, he bowled the last over the other day, and first ball went for 6, but he fought back really well because he knows his game well. But I just like the way he attacks the game. Like, he does whatever the team requires. You know, Shakib Al Hasan was going at 3 and over. They just got the wicket, of Devon Conway. First ball, he comes down the wicket, hits it over long off for 6. Now, he could have got out, but that's okay because he had some real method in his thought process. You know, he's actually trying to take the game on, trying to take the pressure off Kane. And if he got out doing that, the team would be fine. But you actually have to show some real strength of character to be able to do that. And he did it a couple of other times too, where New Zealand were just a little bit behind the game, and he took on the boundary rider, and that's what you need in the middle order. You need someone that can take the pressure off your other batters, and Daryl's really good at doing that, really good at assessing what's required, and I guess experience does that.
Yeah, and he is going to be key for us this World Cup. If we look forward, the next match-up is against Afghanistan in Chennai as well. Munners, what do you think about that? Because Afghanistan, a lot of people go, well, wipe the floor with them potentially, but there's a way sometimes, like if they were to bowl first and put New Zealand in a bit of trouble there, because it's their bowling that lies their strength, you'd have to think. They could trip us up. I'm not saying they will, but they could. There's potential there.
I think, like Hess said, at the start of the tournament, when you got Bangladesh and Afghanistan and Chennai, you think, spinning wickets, low and slow, it's going to be tough. But if it plays like anything like it was today, I think the Black Caps will walk away with the win quite comfortably, because the extra bounce with the Afghani boys, the pace that we have, they'll really battle. I think the only guy that can play the short ball really well is Gurbaz at the top of the order. But again, he's a guy that likes to go out and impose himself on the game. So, like I said before, I think, if the wicket's the same as it was today, easy win for the Black Caps.
Oh, I like that. What are your thoughts, Hess, if it is like that? Or what if it's not? Ooh, what are you going to do there? What happens? What do you reckon?
Look, we've had 2 games there, haven't we? And it's been 2 distinctly different surfaces. But the fact that, it went through quite nicely. And as Lockie said, there was a bit of variation and bounce. And that's what a lot of your subcontinent players don't like. They don't like ones that, sometimes they get you in the hip and the next one flies up past your shoulder. They don't like that, especially when it's coming at 145. So, if it becomes a spinning wicket, absolutely it evens the battle out and New Zealand will have to play very well. But if we get a surface, anything like that, then, I'm nowhere near as stressed out as I probably was a couple of weeks ago when I first saw the draw.
Well, Mike Hesson, you can go and have a wee kip now because you've got a big game of golf to play today. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Colin Munro, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for your insights. And thank you guys so much for joining us this morning on No Boundaries. We'll be back for the Black Caps' next matchup against Afghanistan. We'll see you then.